Hello, welcome back to the MMA Split podcast. Later than expected, later than planned, later than it should be. It is not entirely our fault. We had a power cut recording yesterday, literally, Josh, a minute before we were going to finish and wrap up. I mean, we'd be going for an
Yeah.
hour and a bit. It was.
Yeah,
Shit happens, man.
we literally rolled from one section into the second without without saving the recording. Something we don't often do. And yeah, it was really really unfortunate timing. Say
It was
lovey.
also just a stressful day because we had the whole issue with bloody trying to get Sly's situation hooked up on Video Ninja, which for some reason his laptop seems to be the only device on planet Earth that does not want to connect to our video stream. We cannot figure it out. His phone gets on there.
Yeah.
We had that whole stress. Then we did it. Then I got kicked out of the stream for some reason. Then Josh got kicked out of the stream.
Sly's
Cracked
phone
back
died.
on. Sly's phone died, and then eventually you had a power cut. And because we now use a desktop, it's not like it can just suddenly switch onto the battery power, or maybe we just lose Wi-Fi. We lost everything. So today, you are getting a abbreviated, not even a breakdown, just a chat. Josh and I are going to have a chat that we've already had in abbreviated detail about UFC London, our thoughts, our excitements, our disappointments, the highs, the lows, the winners, the losers, and all of that jazz. No Sly today. Unfortunately, I think he lost a bit of patience with us.
Well, no, he had other plans tonight, so after we had to push it a day. It's the first week he's not here, and it's not his fault. So,
True.
I can't say fairer than that. And he won the picks.
Yeah,
won the picks this week.
With me now.
Let me prepare the table and just bring it up for visibility.
Well, thanks to yesterday, I already know that I am now joint last with Sly. He has dragged me into his last. He has dragged me into his last position, so I'm not happy about that. But what we're going to do for you guys today, we're going to run through everything that happened. Of course, if you are enjoying the content, please leave a like on the video. Feel free to leave a comment, even if it's negative. We're tough-skinned. We don't give a fuck. Say whatever you want. And subscribe if you're not subscribed. With that out the way, Josh, I know we've already had this conversation yesterday, but really, I mean, just a bit of a disappointment. It's for me, for the old card, I thought it was a bit of a letdown. Didn't live up to UFC London back in March. The sequels rarely do. But nothing was more of a letdown than Tom Aspinall blowing his knee out 15 seconds in.
Yeah, there was a lot to be frustrated with. Too many empty seats in the prelims. Too many, maybe the matchmakers weren't really looking at current form when they booked some of these fights. But yeah, the biggest disappointment of all is Tom Aspinall's going to be out for a little bit now. Blew out his knee. We got to see 15 seconds of action. It looked like Tom was really going to take it to Blaydes. Blaydes hitting him with the count as well. Tom getting a little too aggressive, but I thought this was a good way to back Blaydes up to the fence. I'm shortening Curtis Blaydes to the contraction to Clades now. I said it by accident, but I think it sounds pretty cool.
I love it, Clades.
So, yeah, Cladesy, he's got his back to the fence. He's certainly landing the more damaging shots, but he's being outstruck. From a scoring perspective, it's more or less even. Oh, it's fucking 15 seconds. What am I really breaking down here?
But you can't score 15 seconds.
Yeah, Tom was going to open it up in a way that maybe takedowns were going to be there. And we all know Blaydes is a phenomenal grappler and impossibly difficult to take down, but when he's on his back, a guy with Tom's jiu-jitsu game could have been interesting. I don't know. Tom was going to go for it. And we were robbed of maybe a special fight. Blaydes is not going to wait around for the rematch. We didn't record any of it. We touched on it kind of lightly, but it'd be very improbable for Aspinall to rematch Blaydes when he comes back. It would have to be a very peculiar set of circumstances. Blaydes will move forward. It's a win with an asterisk. But shit, this is so disruptive for Tom. I'm so gutted that he's going to have to take all this time out. All the rehab, the light training, then going back to the hard training, then you're going to need a tune-up fight.
Man. Also just the motivation as well, dude. Like, you're on this great win streak, you come into the UFC, it's, 5 fights, all by finish, all within the distance, all within this, the first 2 rounds, most of them in the first round, smashing every single guy who moves up. When you have that kind of momentum, an injury like this, even if you physically come back 100%, it's you're not quite in that same mental headspace, and he falls down the rankings. I mean, a lot can change in the next year. You've got, what have we got this weekend? We've got Sergey Pavlovich taking on Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
Now, Pavlovich is a bit of a beast. Like, I think I'm going to pick. We're doing the pick show later today, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to pick Lewis because I fucking love Derek Lewis. That's a fight Pavlovich could win, and you look at that, all of a sudden in 12, 18 months' time, you might have an entirely different picture in the heavyweight division. You might have a couple of the older guys drop out, and then you have different up-and-comers take that spot that could have been Aspinall's spot, and all of a sudden he's having to clamber back through 3 or 4 fights to get back to where one win on Saturday would have put him. So it's a bugger, man. But he was howling in pain. When we recorded yesterday, we weren't quite sure what the injury was. It seems to be an MCL. This is what I think a few doctors are kind of saying. You get some YouTube doctors that kind of analyze injuries, and the MCL seems to be the most likely one. Obviously, Josh, you've had a far more sporting youth and 20s than I did. ACL or MCL? What's the worst one?
Assuming that you had like a complete tear and it was as bad as it could be on both of them. My understanding is the ACL is the harder to surgically repair. It's the harder to rehab without further damage. These days, though, surgery is much improved. Our understanding of recuperation is much improved. It's not a career ender. An ACL used to be a career ender. An MCL used to be a career changer, possibly a career ender. And now it's kind of hard to say, but the biggest thing is it's a lot of time out. If it all goes completely perfectly, and when he comes back, he's where he was physically, the first 14 seconds of that fight, it's a lot of time out. He would have to take a tune-up fight, in my opinion. It's just too long out. Dominic Cruz would take tune-up fights when he came back. Well, he was going through monsters, but they were tune-up fights as far as Dom was concerned. Aspinall will kind of have to do the same. And yeah, man, we got Pavlovich. I'm actually picking Pavlovich this week. I got Romanov. I don't know if Dorcas will bounce back. There is young blood coming through in this division. I mean, the only good thing about the time off, I suppose, is that maybe it means you'll never have to see Ngannou, Stipe, John Jones. We'll see. Those would have been great fucking fights, though. Those would have been real legacy fights, too. So fun for us. We've been robbed.
The thing is, I kind of feel like Aspinall would be catching a lot of those guys at the right time.
Yeah, I kind of do, too.
I actually thought Blaydes was the hardest fight he had. I thought if he beats Blaydes, yes, Ngannou can catch you. You have to deal with power. But from a technical perspective, Ngannou coming off his own MCL injury at 35, wouldn't be 36 by the time he comes back in. Never the most technical, very powerful, but not necessarily a very efficient distribution of weight. You look at him and there's a lot of unnecessary muscle there that isn't necessarily relevant to grappling or striking.
Yeah.
Not fast. I mean, it's them breaks, man. It's them breaks. It's an absolute fucker. The MMA gods are clearly not happy about some of the fight bookings that we're going to talk about after we run through this. Just a bit of a letdown, man. The first London card was so special this year, and I didn't see any reason why this should be. I knew that a lot of these guys have harder matchups, and we'll talk about kind of that going down the card. But like you say, the fans not attending straight away, for the early fights, even the weigh-ins weren't as heavily attended, and it's just these little things that's like, why, considering how great the first event was, would that not be a cursor to people of get your seat right away? It's not like everybody did it and the first 4 fights were shit in March and everyone's like, watch out just to show up a couple of hours in.
The thing is, we are living in that post-COVID economy. Not everyone's back to where they were. How many of the people, do you reckon, from the March event were able to also afford a ticket for this one? Because it felt like a different crowd. And I'm really worried that Dana White's just going to go away from this and go, two in a year in the UK is too many.
I think he's going to look at this and say 2 in England, in London might be too much. I wouldn't mind if they did a London card and then they did a Manchester card or something like that, or they found a way to go to Birmingham if we end up with Leon Edwards as the champ, or I know that the stadium that you would use in Liverpool doesn't do fight sports at the moment, but if they figure a way out around that and you get the card, that I'd be kind of for. I think one of the issues you've got is, we had one in March, we had this one in July. We're due to, I think we're probably going to have another London card in March next year. So it is quite sporadic. And you do touch on something that I wouldn't actually mind doing a whole video about, to be honest, but we'll touch on it here. Every single time they do a press conference, they say that they set the gate was a record. And they make it sound like that's a really good thing. But all that fucking means is that you've charged more money to go to a stadium that you've been to in the past, that you're probably selling equivalent numbers of tickets to. And that's the reason why it's making more money. So it's this thing that they sell as like, oh yeah, we set another record here. It's like, no, what you mean is you charge the most amount of money for fuckers to see the fights.
Yep.
It's like, I get the business of it. I just really wish that was something that they would at least sort of just call it as it is, rather than trying to hide it behind this like braggadocious sort of stat in the post-fight.
That's how they handle everything, though. They don't reveal pay-per-view numbers. They hide. They claim fighter pay is not an issue, and then they give out extra 50k bonuses, which is a drop in the ocean for them.
They don't mention pay-per-views because they get guaranteed 500,000 from ESPN payments anyway. It's the gate where they make all their extra money.
I know, I'm talking historically here. They're very, very shady with the numbers. The antitrust suit against them was very enlightening. Yeah. There's lots of different ways to look about it, but they understand that they protect their value a lot better if they kind of play that smoke and mirrors. Throw out a nice digestible headline, record gate. Sounds like we're trending upwards. Everything's positive, but yeah, fucking pay-per-view costs have gone through the roof. Subscription costs for Fight Pass, ESPN Plus go up. There was even a time when they were trying to hide the crypto coin mining in the code for Fight Pass. So just rinsing people's electricity bills for their own nefarious gains. They took it out again when they got caught, but just lots of shady shit. It's not just the UFC, it's everybody in it. It's just the world we live in.
Very true. But it is a sucker. While we're talking about the shit things, should we just go through the shit things on the card first, and then we can talk about all the good stuff?
Yeah.
So I suppose the next disappointment was, we were really hyped up for Hermansson versus Chris Curtis. I kind of said, even with the dropout, it had replaced my excitement for the fight, even though we lost Darren Till. That needed to be Darren Till, man. That needed to be Hermansson against a top technical level guy. And Chris Curtis on 2 weeks camp just wasn't the guy for it. Didn't fight smart, chased him instead of cutting off the cage, didn't really mix things up, only used his hands. And I thought, we talked about this yesterday, of course, but Hermansson fought a clean fight, did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, he came out in the first round much like I thought he would, staying long. I really love throwing the head kick in so smoothly in with his combinations now. That was a nice wrinkle. But yeah, Chris never really gave him the looks he wanted to see to try and get that easy takedown.
Right.
And he was easily winning those first 2 rounds, so he just stuck with it. By the third round, it was just get on your bike, win that fight. Chris Curtis got nothing to complain about. I mean, to be fair, he was salty afterwards, but they quickly kind of made amends.
They kind of patched it up, didn't they?
Yeah. And Chris has been saying online, I've got a temper. I handled that badly, but, I'm fine with it. We're all good.
He's frustrated.
Patched it up.
He's frustrated, and I can understand, because I just watched the fight, and I was frustrated. It wasn't the most entertaining. I don't blame Hermansson at all. He was in a lose-lose situation. It's like, hey, you're a co-main event. You either want to be a dick and cancel the card and know we're going to hold it against you, or do you want to be a legend, save the night, fight some unranked guy that does nothing for your career in terms of moving you up or down. And if you lose to him, we'll probably kick you out of the top 10 and replace your number with, give your number to him, is what I meant to say. So, yeah, he's going to fight smart. So, third round, I'm up 2-0 in a fight that I can only lose no matter what I do. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to do that. I've got nothing to prove. I'm not English. These aren't my fans.
Well, they're MMA fans, and Chris has won them back again. All right. Do you want to get all the shit out of the way, and then we can just concentrate?
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I want to play a game. What would your next letdown be, moving down the card? I'm curious to see if you include this, even though it shouldn't be a letdown for entertainment.
Let's see. Next letdown for me. I'm not going to put Paul Craig Ozdemir in there. Oof.
Yeah, it's not a letdown of entertainment. It's just sad if you're English because you love Paul Craig.
Yeah, or British.
Well, mention him. Fucking love Paul Craig. Hard fight. He's got other skills he needs to work on. He can beat guys without just having to pull off miracle jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And we'll get to it. We'll get to it briefly. We'll touch on all the important ones. So I guess the next, technically, I think what you were hinting at would be the Jacasey fight against Hadzovic.
Oh, I was going to go with kind of Gustafsson, sort of, finally looking like he really should hang the gloves up and, because I'm not saying it was an entertaining, like that 3-fight stretch from Molly to Paddy, that 3-fight stretch was the best that the night was throughout. It was the best period that the card had. But if you are a fan of mixed martial arts, you are a fan of Gustafsson, and even if you didn't want him to win, you still would have wanted to see the guy give him a bit more back and forth. I thought for me, that was a bit of a disappointment. It's just the fact that Gustafsson looked such a shadow of himself.
Yeah, I couldn't really see it in the fight, but I think he got really hurt because Krylov was really kind of chasing after him in the finish there, and I think Krylov felt something that we didn't see. I think Gus just got cracked real hard, real early, and he is over the hill. Krylov's really fucking good at turning punching bags into knocked out people. You got to keep moving. So
yeah. That first round, he's a pretty dangerous guy.
Yeah. After that, then the next letdown I've got to say is definitely, and I'm very glad he won, and I thought this is how he was going to win. But Jacasey against the Bosnian bomber Hadzovic. This is what Jacasey's doing these days. He's rounded out his game. He is one of the better strikers in the division, but now he can time takedowns and he can control you, and he can fight a smart fight, stay safe, take minimal damage, and keep moving on when he's got to fight a dangerous guy like Damir Hadzovic.
Well, he's got the advantage of coming in with the reputation of being a flashy striker, and so there's openings that he's getting that a more recognised wrestler and grappler wouldn't be given because the guy'd be more aware of it. But people are worried about the hands. He gets an easy entry. He's good at taking advantage of it. And he's become very good at staying in top control. He's not doing anything flashy, but he's doing enough to keep the position. He's not taking any major risks. He's not trying to get mounds and risking being swept. He's keeping it very safe. He's doing what's being done to him effectively. And it's good to see him learning from that. But it's a fucking boring fight. And he's already got the striking. It's like that third round, man. Even your coaches are telling you, come on, dude, you got him worried about the takedowns. Let's try and get a finish. Start lining him up on the feet a little bit. And it's like he's overcorrected. And he's not going to stop while he's winning.
Yeah, we can do the same to Slava Claus as well. So Hadzovic should have seen this coming. But, shit. You don't want to get finished at the third round, at the end of the third round, particularly when you've won the entire fight. And while Jacasey is lights out on the feet, he's not defensively that solid. So I think that if he, as he continues and carries on going, he's going to be mixing up more and more and more. I would love it if he could get to the level, not as a fighter, but just in terms of like mixing up grappling, striking, and just threatening all facets of offense at any given moment of like a Volkanovski. because he could potentially. Volkanovski's got much better defense. So I'm purely talking from an offensive standpoint here. But if he could put together a game like that, he could threaten the top 15. He is an athlete, and he has got fucking some nice knockouts. He gets the kicking game going. He's a dangerous man to be in there with.
Great thing is, anybody is wondering why my face is sometimes twitching or I'm doing weird shit, I have got the mother of all fucking toothaches that developed today. So, like a true pro, I am continuing. If you see any weird facial grimaces, it's not because I'm, going into psychosis. Well, it may be that, but it's more likely that it's my teeth, just in case anyone thinks I'm weird.
Yeah, if you see my eyes twitching, it's just because I'm really fucking baked.
That's why I wear sunglasses. Next letdown of the cards up for you.
Honestly, there weren't a lot of letdowns, but again, Jai Herbert, first decision of his career, he fucking needed this win, so I understand. Very cautious coming in after getting knocked out, and yeah, it wasn't the best fight. That might kind of be it though, Overall, there were people that didn't put in like a 10 out of 10 performance, but I would grade everything else at least a 7. That was the only other kind of disappointing fight. Have you got any others?
It's a weird one because I wouldn't say that there are any others which are like massive letdowns. It's just that they were very flat. That's the description I'd give. And the problem is that flat is fine. If you have some flat fights mixed in with some great moments and some really exciting things, you don't really notice the flat ones. They just kind of pass through. But when you kind of start and you have sort of 4 flat fights in a row, particularly 2 that you're seriously excited about, you're not getting a lot of finishes, it's not necessarily the most exciting card, then you get a crowd let down with Paul Craig, then it builds up and then it lets you down again. There's just a lot of things that I felt kind of prevented it from... I talk about this all the time, momentum. And I know you always say that momentum never happens, but momentum does happen. And it looks like it was going to happen with this main card. But just died out at the end and didn't really get started at the beginning, unfortunately.
Well,
it is what it is.
Yeah,
there were some good moments. The good moments were great.
Let's go for the top performances.
What was your top performance? What was your standout? Because there are 4 standouts in my mind, but I'm curious to see what yours is.
Oof. I would say I've got it tied for 2. I would say, and there were a lot of really good performances. It's just I've got 2 that I'm just edging a little above. Paddy Pimblett submitting Jordan Levitt in the second, and Nathaniel Wood just completely taking Charles Rosa to pieces on the feet. Those 2 for me.
My top one would be Molly. But it's those 3 in my top. It's like, do I go Molly, Paddy, Wood? Do I go Wood, Molly, Paddy? It's those were the 3 people that I felt really brought it for the British crowd.
Yeah, there was also JSP had a fucking great fight. Ludovic Klein looked amazing, but
those were both really good as well. Those were both really good. I mean, obviously, for the non-English winners, that still had good performances. That I thought they were really good. JSP, he did kind of kick the card into life. There was a good little run where you had JSP and then Nathaniel Wood. The Mason Jones Ludovic Klein fight was very good, although disappointing for the Welsh fans. Molly, for me though, it was the main card needed the spark, and I thought she really delivered it. I thought she had the best performance in the sense of just she owned that fight all the way through. And Hannah Goldie's tough. She looked like she was definitely on the juice, muscly as fuck, but that would have been a strong person to have pressing you up, clinching you, grappling you against the fence. And I thought she did a really good job of getting back to her feet, breaking away, landing a damage, and spinning elbow. 2 spinning elbow knockouts in a row. I know that one on Saturday, it wasn't a direct knockout, but it was a...
It will be credited as spinning elbow 2 punches.
Yes.
Like, that's how it's going to be credited. So, and they will talk about it as if she did 2 spinning knockouts in a row. And that is the fairest way to kind of assess it.
Yeah. And really, it's her and Paddy's... It was her and Paddy's night. It was her and Paddy's week. They owned the pre-fight stuff. All the videos involving them were great. As a duo, they're fantastic. They brought the most excitement from the crowd. They brought the best finishes.
You know what it is? Fucking Drake. The curse has evolved. So now Drake had that parlay from Paddy and Molly, and then the rest of the card felt a little fucking funky. It was all a little off. Drake got inside Tom Aspinall's knee. Just did some Canadian mischief.
Do you know how we can qualify this? Did Drake put a bet on the UFC at Long Island?
I have no idea now, actually. Can't remember.
We need to find out.
Probably dropped a couple grand on Jack Shaw or something. Callous bastard.
Yeah, I'll put some money on your year or something. We'll find that out and confirm if this Drake curse has mutated like the COVID strain.
Yeah.
Fuck, I shouldn't have said that word. I think we get like
Omicron Drake curse.
I think they bury the video if we say that word or reference that virus. So, fuck. Well, no one watches anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, we're working towards the brand.
I'll tell you what I thought was cool for both Molly and Paddy's performances, at least for me personally. They were performances, not only did they smash all of the star building, justifying the Barstool Sports contracts of $1 million each for them, all that kind of stuff. They're both performances that make me feel like they are actually better than what I thought they were going in. My viewpoint being they'll probably never really get into that ranking any higher than 15 in either division. And they're really just going to be there for fun fights to get the UK crowd going, but their ceiling will be here. And now I do actually think it's like, you know what? I think Molly gives a lot of problems. It's like, do I think she beats an Antonina Shevchenko? I'd give her a shot.
Shevchenko doesn't fight that quick. She's going to let her get close too often. That's a good fight for her.
Even somebody like a Cynthia Calvillo, no very good grappler, but she's not necessarily explosive. So I look at it and think, actually, no, Molly, if you can learn that kind of damage and hurt girls and intimidate them and be aggressive the way Andrade, not to the same extent, but have that element of presence that women don't usually have to deal with in MMA, you could do something. And for Paddy, I always, we've had this conversation, is he just going to be a fun fighter or can he kind of do something? Do I think he beats anybody in the top 15 now? Fuck no. But do I think that his grappling is of a much higher level than I gave it credit for? And actually you said it, he doesn't use it enough, but actually I think while you're still fighting these lower level guys where you can strike and make mistakes, as long as you kind of understand that just because you knock out a couple of unranked guys, it doesn't mean that you're fucking Mike Tyson and you're still working and learning on the technique and building. Just add a little bit of offensive wrestling and he could really be something. I mean, 5'10", pretty stacked for the division. He looks strong. He seems big and strong for the division.
His ground game is amazing.
Very creative, sweeps well, will pull submissions out of nowhere. I could see guys that would, without a doubt, out-grapple him, but would find it difficult and find him catching them in little traps and fooling them with things, being slick on the ground without necessarily being strong on the ground physically.
Yeah, and he runs his mouth and he backs it up with punches so he can get under your skin in the heat of the moment. He's kind of got everything going for him. He's not a top 5 guy. He's just out. I think his ceiling is just outside that top 5. But by the time he gets there, what's the state of 155 going to be? To be honest, with Damiris Magulov, Kutataladze, Makhachev, it's probably going to look fucking bad. I think it's going to be worse than it is now. So, shit, we'll see. But I think Paddy is gone.
He needs to get technically better. And he needs to work on the wrestling and really work on the wrestling. I want to see double leg takedowns. I want to see single legs. I want to see that being implemented as an offensive threat. The difference, I'll tell you what, he cleans things up and stops getting hit so much. The one thing you know about him is he's willing to scrap. He's got that fighter's heart and that fighter's mentality. He's not easy to finish. And that in itself, if he makes sure that he's good enough to get hit less than he is at the moment, I think, with the really good guys, it's that hunger, it's that durability sometimes that can be the difference maker. And, one thing I'd say about a lot of these guys at lightweight that are kind of very dominant in their wins, is we don't always know how durable they are. We don't know like how well do you take a punch because you're good enough to be in grappling situations enough that we're not seeing you get hit all the time.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Well, the other thing is, if you're in grappling situations all the time, we don't see how good your chin is. Your chin is about as good as it can be. So it's,
no, I get that.
It's a double-edged sword, but it is a valid point. You know, shit. Who did Makhachev get knocked out by?
Oh, it's some fucking who the fuck knows, mate.
Yeah, just got caught flush early on in the first round. Just
it's an absolute. It's just some guy who just got caught early.
Shit happens.
But the point is, you know that it can happen. You know that can happen. You never know, man. You never know. I'm excited for Paddy. I'd like him to stop getting so fat in between fights, but
well, that's that hunger you were talking about.
Yeah, quite literally. And hey, man, for you, to have one of your best mates kill themselves, and you find out on the Friday that you're cutting weight, and then you put in that performance, I think there's a lot to appreciate there. And I mean, really, with Darren Till's injury problems, I know Tom and Leon are further ahead in their careers, but obviously Tom's got the injury now. Leon, I mean, God damn it, even if he wins the title, there's still going to be less people who give a fuck about Leon Edwards than Paddy Pimblett right now. However unfortunate that is, it's him and Molly are the flag bearers right now, man. They're the people that are going to get casual bums and seats.
Yep. That will change, though. If Leon Usman actually happens, I would do nothing to fuck with the MMA gods at this point.
Don't take that away from us.
And if he somehow wins the rematch,
that's the question, isn't it?
How is it going to change? Do you know what I mean?
It's hard enough to beat Usman once. I would never want to have to try and beat that guy twice in a row, and that's what you've got to do. The advantage you've got. Usman's 35.
Around, yeah, not young.
He's 35 with fucked knees. Now, Rocky's what? 30, 29?
I think north of 30. I think he's just a bit younger than me.
He's not like, he's like 30, he's 32 max.
That's what I'm thinking.
He's not an old man. He's 32 max, and he could be 30, 31. And he's a young, I feel like his body hasn't gone through the same wear and tear as Usman.
And I feel like he's
he's a younger 31 than Usman was at 31. He's not got the same damage. He's faster. If he is able to beat Usman once, he's going to be fighting an older, less confident Usman, whose knees are not getting better. His hand isn't getting better.
I know.
But then again, I'll tell you what I could see happening. I fall in love with my hands at Usman standing up in the first fight and kind of realizing that they're striking and they're striking and just getting completely outdone by the speed of Leon Edwards. And then in the rematch, deciding, fuck the knees, I've got to grapple.
Possibly. Either way, we've got a little off track. It's because Sly couldn't be here today.
We're just having a chat.
Yeah. No, I was going to say though, do you want to make a cut here, roll it into the news and start talking about the upcoming fights?
Yeah, that works for me. Final thing I just want to say is that if Usman does lose to Leon Edwards once or twice, I really don't think he can go up to light heavyweight and beat Yuri Prochaska. I am just putting that out there. You kind of need to beat Leon quite comfortably the first time for people to believe that you will win that fight. Even if you beat Leon comfortably the first time, I personally do not believe you should go up to light heavyweight. I don't even think you should go up to middleweight. I do not think you have the body type that is well suited to moving up weight classes. That is just me.
Yeah, his knees aren't going to thank him for it.
On that note, guys, we hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know, because obviously this is a bit more of just a kind of general chat about the card and kind of, without sort of going, bit by bit and fight by fight. Give us your thoughts. Did you prefer this? Did you like this? Did you miss the breakdown style? The more feedback we get from you, the more we know how we can make our videos better and more entertaining.
On that note, look out for the pick show dropping and a new segment that we're going to be doing this week as well. And as always, bye Dave, bye Laurie, bye Trufo.
Bye Laurie, bye Dave.